He shared this quote at a retirement ceremony: "One word of truth outweighs the world." Now the military brass is derailing his career. Hi, I'm Stuart Shepard, and this is First Liberty Live. Did you know this is also available as an audio podcast? Just look on any of the popular platforms out there, search for First Liberty Live, and you can listen while you're on the go, in your car, on the treadmill, wherever. We would love to have you share with us in that way. So just check it out on any podcast platform. Jace Yarbrough serves in the Space Force, but he's here today as a private citizen. Danielle Runyan is senior counsel here at First Liberty Institute. She also serves in the Air Force Reserve. And we are thankful for both of you for your service. But I want to point out, because we have to keep this legal, notice he's not in uniform. She's not in uniform. We're here as private citizens talking about something that happened. Hi, Jace. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, Stuart.
Good to see both of you. First, Jace, tell us about the retirement ceremony that brought about all the trouble. Where was it? What was it like being there?
Sure. Well, it was on a museum in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The USS Memorial Association runs the battleship Missouri, so it was outdoors on that ship. I had a good friend from my active duty days who asked if I'd preside over his retirement ceremony, and so decided to do that. Went out there with my wife and infant son, and we were there with him and his close family and friends. Total group of us was about 25, and so it was back in June of 2021. That's when he retired. And
to be clear, this is not the public wasn't invited. This is a retirement ceremony. It's by invite only. So the people who are there are people that he invited, I presume, to be at the ceremony, right?
That's correct. Regulations at the time actually prevented anyone other than the folks that he had specifically invited from being there, and the total number that he was permitted, again, was 25.
Now, as the person presiding over this, which is, I understand, a place of honor, you got to give a speech, and you did. Tell me about the speech.
Sure. It was a privilege for me to be invited to do this and to honor my friend with some words about his career. And in order to do that, I pointed out some things that I had noticed in him, some virtues and characteristics that I came to admire, that I tried to emulate myself, and that I thought certainly made his service much more effective. And so I charged the airmen that were there that day to follow his example. In trying to do that, I likened his character and his virtues to some qualities that I had seen in other men that I admired, Alexander Solzhenitsyn being one of them. So that's the point of any retirement ceremony speech, right? You want to do honor to the career and the life of the retiree, and so that's what I tried to do that day.
And this is someone who's more than just someone who you worked with. This is a dear friend. It's someone you had a lot of time and experience with.
That's correct, yeah. So the Sergeant Fish was the first senior NCO that I served closely with when I got command of my first operational flight. We spent 18 months together at the United States Air Force Honor Guard in D.C., which is a historic unit. We shared an office space that was probably no bigger than the rug we're using on set today.
Yeah.
And it was a time of a really intense op tempo, and so we got to know each other very quickly. And that relationship continued after we both moved on from that assignment. And we continue to stay in touch and talk regularly, and still do today. Sergeant Fish he's a dear friend, and I'm fortunate to count him as a friend from my days on active duty.
I read through the transcript of the speech that you gave, and rather than be offended, I would have stood up and applauded when you were done. I mean, everything I heard in there is true. It's spot on. You hit everything well, I thought. Did you have any idea that the things that you said would lead up to someone complaining?
No, I didn't, Stuart. I'll say that the immediate response from those who were in the ceremony was incredibly positive. We spent the rest of the day hanging out with Sergeant Fish and his family and other attendees, and everyone was effusive in their praise, their gratitude. They felt privileged to be able to be there and share with Sergeant Fish. And one of the guys we served with during our time at the Honor Guard, he was also there. Yeah. With his wife because of his appreciation and admiration for Sergeant Fish. And she actually asked me if I would come and speak at his upcoming retirement ceremony. She was so moved and grateful. And so it was a very positive experience. And the last thing that I expected was to get a phone call from Sergeant Fish saying, "Hey, I heard some rumors that maybe somebody complained about your remarks."
And let's talk about what came back then on this. There was a letter of admonishment, that's the official term. And among other things, it takes issue with you saying that the military is becoming politicized. I don't know anybody in the country that would disagree with that, so that's a true statement. You quoted Soviet dissident Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who was a Christian, who was speaking out against what was going on in his country. And the quote specifically was, "Let the lie come, but not through me," which is another way of saying hold to what is true. I wouldn't disagree with that. That seems to be true. You also challenged and this is a quote, "cancel culture being pushed down through the ranks." And that's from the letter that they wrote, that you were challenging cancel culture being pushed down through the ranks. Well, we're all in full view of that. It's happening. It's real. It's true. We know it's happening. We've seen plenty of examples. There have been plenty of lawsuits about it. So for the officer who wrote this letter, it appears truth is now a problem for the military. How do you read that?
I'd agree with that, Stuart. One of the frustrating things, nobody wants to hear, your conduct was unbecoming. You exhibited poor judgment as an officer. And so I looked for some of the details. Okay, well, what was it that I said? And for them to tell me specifically that encouraging the airmen who were listening to me that day to be people of integrity, to not participate in conduct or speech that they know is dishonest and false, was baffling. And then eventually it made me angry. I got frustrated with it. Because that's exactly what I'm supposed to be encouraging them to do.
Right.
The Air Force's first core value is integrity. I was admonishing them to uphold the highest standards of our Air Force, which I love, so that's sort of how I interpreted that letter. That was some of the confusion that I had about it, some of the frustration that I had about it.
Now, one key point in this, and it's one of the facts of the case, you're at a private ceremony in a private location that's by invitation only, so you're a private citizen. You were wearing your uniform, and this is where I want to turn to Danielle and get a read from her on that as an attorney representing you. Does it make any difference that he was in uniform giving this speech?
No, Stuart, it does not. It does not give the Air Force any authority to take the action that they took against him. Again, as Jace very clearly explained, he was acting in his civilian capacity. Air Force regulations allow a civilian to preside over a ceremony such as this in their uniform. The Air Force wasn't paying him. They didn't provide his travel to the location. He wasn't on orders. So nothing according to statute says that they had any jurisdiction over him. And then for them to reach out and say, well, we're going to punish you now in your capacity as Major Yarbrough is just entirely inappropriate. So that's one of the things that we address in our complaint. And then in addition to that, the fact that he was speaking the words that he spoke, as he explained, it's his religious speech and they're saying it's contemptuous, that's just simply not only false, but it's very disturbing and also is just a violation of the First Amendment and his rights under the Religious Freedom Restoration Act.
I'm going to look into the future. I'm looking on social media right now, and even after everything you said, people are going to write, yeah, but he was wearing his uniform.
Right.
So explain it again. Why is it okay for him to be in uniform while making these comments? Just so people are clear on this.
So it's okay for him to be in his uniform, one, at this particular ceremony in the capacity that he was in, such as presiding over the ceremony, according to Air Force regulation. Two, again, this is a very private ceremony. This isn't him publicly speaking, in the public square.
It's not a rally. He's not on a bullhorn.
No, it's none of those things. He's not out on Twitter saying anything. This is just a ceremony that his friend asked him to attend. It's a group of like-minded individuals. And from what we understand, it was a member of the Navy quartet who came to be a part of the ceremony who complained. So all of these facts just do not rise to the occasion of warranting a letter of admonishment, which is very damaging to Jace's career.
Now help us understand where we are in the arc of this. We just took it to court, right?
Yes. So we just filed our complaint a couple of weeks ago, and what we wait for now is for the defendants, which includes the Air Force and the Space Force. So again, Jace is a member of the Space Force. And for those who don't understand, the Department of the Air Force is the umbrella under which the Space Force falls.
Right.
So we now wait for them to respond, and we take it from there.
We're also working alongside Winston and Strawn and Ave Maria School of Law on this one. So it's not just us. There are others who are looking at this going, well, there's a problem here. Jace, what would be the best outcome here? What would you like to see happen?
I'd like the letter of admonishment to be expunged from my record. And I'd like to continue my career so that I can continue to serve the country that I love in uniform. There are certain deadlines in the career of any military member when they're up for promotion or certain other advancements like that. And if I were to meet a promotion board with this letter in my record, there's almost no question that I wouldn't make that board. I wouldn't be promoted.
Yeah.
My career is certainly over if this letter stays where it is. So that's the first thing. I also would just encourage anybody who is currently serving in the military to do not participate in the lie. Like if there's speech or conduct that is false, like you cannot in good conscience as a member of the United States military who's committed to integrity, you can't participate in that. So I stand by the quote that I wrote, that I gave that day. Maybe the lie will come, maybe it'll win out, but don't let it win out through you. Anyway, I'd be gratified if folks took encouragement from that.
We're proud to stand alongside you and to stand with you in this court battle. And Danielle, I want to make clear, this is not the first step. There were already a lot of opportunities for the military to back down off of this, right?
Yes. So Jace had filed a number of appeals all the way up the chain of command, citing the very things that we cite in our complaint. So saying that, one, the Air Force didn't have jurisdiction over Jace in his capacity as a civilian for the speech that he made. And two, that his speech was protected by the First Amendment. Just because even if Jace was in uniform, military members don't lose their constitutional rights just because they sign up to serve our country. In fact, we take the oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So,
very good.
So there you have it.
I'm going to let you wrap it up and put a bow on it. What else would you like to add?
I would just like to add that, again, just because Jace spoke in his uniform, there's no jurisdictional authority that the Air Force has over Jace. And two, I encourage people to go to our website and take a look. We have, I believe we have his speech posted there. People can read it. And frankly, like you said at the very beginning, Stuart, it's an encouraging speech. One would get up and think, I'm going to applaud this speech. This is great. But unfortunately, what we see happening is viewpoint discrimination. If we're not speaking in a manner that is consistent with what's going on in politics and what's being pushed down by the executive branch, then we're going to be punished for our speech. And one other thing I'd like to add is that, other members in uniform have been doing things and they haven't been punished. They've been out there, for instance, going to parades that in support of their LGBTQ friends, I will say, against challenging President Trump's transgender policy. Yeah. Those people didn't get punished to our knowledge. So again, if you're not consistent with the narrative that's out there today, then you're going to be punished. And as Jace said, that's the cancel culture, and we're seeing it right here with Jace's situation. I mean, how ironic is that's something he was talking about, and then he's the one who's being canceled because of that speech. All right.
Jace, anything you want to add before I let you go?
I'll add one thing, Stuart, which is, it's maybe a fine point, but to help folks understand this jurisdictional question.
Yeah.
Right? So as a reservist, I'm a unique reservist in that I'm attached to an active duty unit. When they want to use me, they have to put me in official military status. To do that, they cut me orders. They pay for my travel. I go to my unit. I'm there. I'm serving, and I'm in status. I'm getting paid. I'm building points toward retirement. None of that happened for this ceremony. My unit didn't know about it. I paid for my travel. I paid for my hotel room. I paid for all my food, rental car, everything. My wife and I made a little vacation about it. I took some time off from my civilian job. I was doing it as a personal favor to a personal friend. And so that I think understanding what the typical setup is when I'm activated to become in military status in service versus what happened here, I think probably be helpful for some of your viewers.
Very good. What happened to you is wrong, and we're going to take care of it for you. We're happy to stand with you. Jace, Danielle, thank you so much. Good talking to both of you.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thanks, Stuart.
It's vitally important that people have an experienced, successful legal organization to come alongside them when trouble comes knocking on the door. If these issues matter to you, if you want to see change in America to how things are being run currently, if you want to see our religious heritage defended, we invite you to join with us in the work here at First Liberty Institute. Just click on the big red Give button up at the top of the page. First Liberty is fighting for what matters most.